Hey, it's Ashley Z. I'm about to talk to one of the only surviving victims of Ted Bundy's Kathy Kleiner. She survived the sorority house attacks at Chi Omega in 1978. We're going to talk to her now.
Hi, Ashley. How are you this morning?
Hi, doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I've been talking a lot about it, and I find it actually helps me heal because I'm telling my story, and every time I do, I think it hurts less, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we read about it, we've heard about it from everybody but you, it seems. What exactly happened that night that you remember?
That afternoon on the 14th of January, I went to a wedding and a reception from my little church I attended. So I was in a great mood when I got home that night. It was about 6:30 in the evening. I got back to the Chi Omega house. I went to bed around 10:30 after doing homework. The next thing I remember is hearing a noise. It kind of woke me up a little bit, but not all the way. The next thing was a larger noise. Let me tell you what the bedroom looked like. When you walked in was a regular-sized dormitory room. We had 2 twin beds on each side of the walls, and we had a little trunk in between the bed, which was like where we put our books. It was a small trunk. There was 3 feet on each side of the bed to the trunk. So it was really a small area. I woke up first. I heard him open the front door, bedroom door. The next thing I heard was a louder thump. He actually tripped over that little locker trunk we had between us. He made a lot of noise at that point, which woke me up. I was laying on my side, on my left side, so that I was looking out toward the room. I remember seeing a dark silhouette of someone standing in front of me. The room is pretty dark. We did have a large window. We hung flowers on the curtain rod, so the room was dark for that because it was so early in the morning. Then I saw the silhouette of someone standing next to my bed. It was all dark. This person was wearing dark clothes and a dark hat. When I looked over more, he lifted his arm above his head as he was carrying a log in his hand. He brought the log down and hit me in the face. He struck me in the face at that time with such force that it broke my jaw. It actually shattered it. I almost bit my tongue off, and also my cheek was split open at that point. When he was attacking me, my roommate Karen on the other side of the room started to stir. He left me and walked over, tripped over the trunk again, and attacked Karen. He also beat her with the piece of firewood, the oak club he had brought into our room. I was more awake now and moaning, so he came back to my side of the room. This person, who ended up being Ted Bundy, did not leave any victims alive. So I believe he was coming over to go ahead and kill me so that I would not be a witness. When he was attacking me for the second time, a car came up the back parking lot. Now, our room faced the back of the sorority, which was right next to the parking lot. When the car drove up in the room, it illuminated it. It made it really bright. And I had my eyes closed at this time, and I saw the room light up, even with my eyes closed. And I remember the first time he struck me, it was like a thud. It was more of a sound and a feeling. It wasn't a sharp hurt. It was just a thud and a numb feeling. When the lights came into our room, he spooked. He thought he was seen either by me or by whomever was coming in the parking lot that night. He left our room, ran down the front stairway, and was leaving out the front doors. Our sorority house was a beautiful southern mansion. When he was walking out the front doors, actually, Nita Neary, who was the sorority sister that was coming home that night, saw him very clearly from the side. She also saw that he was carrying the club, at which point she thought it was an umbrella because it was such a quick time that she saw him. She went up to the second floor, which is where we were. My roommate Karen was stumbling out of our bedroom. When Nita saw her and some other sorority sisters, they turned her around and walked her back into our room. When they heard me moaning and groaning on the bed, actually in my head I was screaming, "Help me, help me." I'm scared. Someone help me. And all I was doing was making a gurgling sound because my jaw had been so shattered I could not actually make words come out. So all I was doing was moaning. They turned on the lights and saw in our room the devastation, the blood everywhere. So immediately they called 911. And the next thing I remember that night was when the paramedics came to attend me.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Do you remember thinking anything in that time? Like, we're being attacked, I need to reach for something? I mean, did you go into survival mode at all, or did it happen too fast? Or because anybody in that situation, I can't even imagine where my mind would first go, like where did yours go?
Being confused and scared, I just laid there. It didn't mean anything to me that someone was attacking me. I think since I received the first blows, he was pretty in his state of frenzy. He hit me really hard. And then when he went to Karen, I think I just lay there and I was numb. I was hurting at that point, not knowing what was going on. I remember sitting up in the bed and holding my face, and it was covered in blood. Once he left is when I understood that something happened, but again, I didn't know exactly. So I did not go into survivor mode at that time. Mm-hmm. I was confused and hurting. So I didn't think to do anything.
Do you think now, looking back on it, it made you a better person than, if it had not happened?
I do think so. When I was 13, I was diagnosed with lupus. I had chemo, lost my hair, and other things. So I think when the attack happened and afterwards as I was healing, I just knew I was going to get better because having gone through the lupus and that scary part, I was not going to go through that again. I was not going to let my mind go to a place that I was scared. I was just going to recuperate, get better, and keep going. And that's what my thoughts were initially.
And if you could tell him anything now, would you say anything to him?
Oh, yeah. I would. I was allowed to see him at the grand jury when they convened in Tallahassee. I remember they took me into a conference room, and I saw him sitting at the other end of the table. I had all these things I wanted to say, but I was told to only answer the questions that were asked to me. I looked at him, and he was staring at me, and I stared him down. I didn't want him to think he had any control of me anymore.
Good.
I was controlling. He was the one on the other side of the table.
Do you forgive him for it, or how do you feel now about it? Have you been able to find peace? It sounds like you have.
I don't think I can ever forgive him.
Yeah.
The beautiful women, the other victims that he attacked and killed, there's just no way by taking those lives away from us so soon that I can forgive him. Also for killing Margaret and Lisa, my sorority sisters, that night. He took them away from the world. They had dreams, thoughts, and they wanted to live. And I can't say I forgive him because he took too many people away, and he attacked me. So at that point, no, I can't forgive him. I can't inside my heart.
Have you found solace with anybody else who's been through something similar, or have you found anybody to talk to about it? I mean, besides...
I have not. I have healed both mentally and physically with my family. They were wonderful. They were there for me the whole time. And I think now, after all this has happened, and I'm helping people by hearing my story, I feel now that I'm helping. And during the recovery, I did not talk to anybody about it because I didn't want to hear anyone else's story. Mm-hmm. I wanted to focus on me. And that might sound selfish, but that's the way I recuperated.
I don't think it sounds selfish at all. And I think in your defense, no one can tell you how you should have processed this or what the correct, way to pick yourself back up and go through life. A survivor of this magnitude, would have been. You have to let your body and your mind process it and recover how it's going to, especially something this intense and traumatic. My mind is blown by all of this. I'm in such awe of you. The Kathy Kleiner that you are today, having gone through and survived all of this, what would you want to tell people who are listening right now? What would you want your message to the world to be?
My heart goes out to anyone who was a victim and is either going through it now or it has stopped and they are moving on. If they're having trouble to move away from what happened, take a baby step, one step forward. And as they take those steps, the violence, the attack, whatever they're going through is one step behind them. It gets less violent, less acute as they walk away from it. And that's the way I've healed.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, Kathy. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Ashley. Thank you so much for inviting me.